Most people think you need $1 million to buy land and build a homestead, but I did it working a full-time job as a father and being the sole breadwinner of our family. In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how I was able to afford the 27 acres, exactly step by step the things that I did personally. Now, this is not necessarily going to be a how-to video. It's more of me sharing my story, how I did video. If you want to escape the rat race and carry out your dreams, here's how I did it. All right, so I grew up extremely poor. My mother struggled with addiction most of my life, and she was a single mother, so we had a double whammy. Both of those are statistical things that go against you in life. And in 8th grade, I was actually in foster care because my mother's addiction was so bad. So all three of these things combined together statistically are terrible, terrible odds and terrible starting position. And in 2014, I was homeless, and in a lot of ways, I succumbed to these statistical odds. But God had a plan for me and my family, and with hard work, persistence, and dedication, even going from where I came from to lower middle class when I was in the military was actually a pretty big deal in my eyes. But for most of this situation, here's exactly what we did. So I worked about 50 to 60 hours with the Army. I was in the Army for 10 plus years and I had a full career. Everyone knows you don't join the Army for the money. There are some opportunities that the Army provides that you don't get outside of civilian life, such as the VA loan, and that definitely helped us. But from about 2015 is when the lights really switched on for me and I became obsessed with freedom and financial freedom. So we're gonna say from about 2016 all the way until 2023, what I was making on average in the Army per month. I don't know what my gross pay was, but I know what average I was bringing home per month was about $3,800 per month. When me and my wife first got married, it was less than this. And towards the end of my career, as I got promoted and had more time in service, it was a little bit more. I think in the beginning, it was like $3,200, $3,300 a month. And then towards the end, it was like $4,300 per month. And me and my wife, one day, this is the key factor in my opinion, we sat down and really talked about what's important to us. What means the most, what will bring us the most amount of peace, and what can we sacrifice along the way to get there. And I think if you have a spouse, this is a very important conversation to have. And for us, and again, for you, it might be different. Maybe you do want to live in the city. There's nothing wrong with that. But for us, it was owning land. And so from about 2016 all the way until 2023, every second that I was not in the Army, which is about 50 to 60 hours per week, I was working. I was hustling. And I used to joke that I was a part-time soldier and a full-time hustler. There was not a week that went by where I didn't work 80 plus hours. And sometimes I would work upwards of 110 hours. But I would say my average week was about 80 to 100 hours per week. During this time, my wife, she was homeschooling our kids because, again, this was what was important to us. This is what we cared about. This may not be what you care about, but for us and our family, land and her homeschooling, nurturing our children was a very important step. So for me, it was my responsibility to provide this for life for my family, and I was willing to do whatever it took. On average, I worked about 20 hours a week in addition to the Army doing Lyft, sometimes more, sometimes less. I often would take vacation time, which we would get 30 days per year, and I would just work during my vacation as well. We would get 4-day weekends once a month. I would use that and work as well. And the key factor is when you make more money, at least for us, it was important for us at least to not have a lifestyle increase, to keep up with the Joneses, to spend money that we didn't have to impress people that we didn't care about. Quite literally having our priorities straight. And our priorities was getting land. And so I still to this day drive a 2006 Chevy Silverado, and I drive a 2009 Toyota Camry. The Camry has 200,000 plus miles on it, and I think maybe combined together, I spent maybe $10,000 on them. I wasn't going out to the club. I wasn't getting a new car every year. I wasn't getting the fancy gadgets or anything like that. I wasn't going out to eat. I wasn't going to Starbucks on my way to work. And all of the extra money that I was making from Lyft, I was investing 100% of that. And the key, you don't have to do what I did, but the key to me is the US dollar is not something that, at least that I think that you should save in. For me, I was saving my money in Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, silver, and real estate. So from 2016 all the way till 2023, I was buying Bitcoin, I was buying XRP almost every single week. And during this time of me doing Lyft, working with the Army, I was also working on my other YouTube channel where I teach people all about cryptocurrency. I would also put a good bit of time and energy into that as well, probably 20 hours per week. Like a lot of times during my lunch hours, I was recording videos. It's not on my top value plays anymore. It hasn't been. So none of these things to me are extraordinary, really. I think I was just a regular Joe working a blue collar job as a mechanic in the Army, and just on my free time, instead of playing Candy Crush, watching TV, or going golfing or playing video games, whatever the case is, just to me, it was more important to do the things to work towards our dreams and goals. Now, when I was driving Lyft, I did other things, like I did DoorDash, I did Roadie, I did all kind of little side hustles, but Lyft was the one that was pretty consistent through it out. And I would say with all of my side hustles, on average, we made about an extra $2,000-ish per month. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but that was a pretty standard extra nights and weekends month of what I would bring home by doing that. And the key, again, was we lived extremely below our means. We didn't go out. We didn't get a new car every year. We didn't get all the fancy gadgets. We didn't get all crazy clothes and all these things. All of our extra money, although it was not a lot, investing that every month, it did compound and it did have a great effect for us. In 2023 was my last year driving Lyft because my YouTube channel actually took off at the point where it was making enough money to where I didn't need to do that anymore. 2023, I did have a lot of vacation time. That was my last full year in the Army because I got out in January of 2014, as well as I did an internship. So I was actually driving a lot of Lyft that year, and I actually made more money driving Lyft that year than I did in the Army. Now, I think that this is a little bit not a normal circumstance, but either way, even if you were to subtract 20 grand from the equation, I still think that everything that we did still holds true, because I also stopped buying XRP in 2023 as well. Also, a big help for us was our house, and we haven't even sold it yet, but that will definitely contribute to some of our expenses. And this is another sort of misconception, I feel like, especially with my age bracket, that is not true. It's a bill of goods that has basically been lied to people, in my personal opinion. And that's that millennials cannot purchase a house. I did have a VA loan, which technically is zero money down, and that did give me an advantage over most people. But the difference between the VA loan and the FHA loan is not that much. It's only about 3.5%. And with the VA loan, I believe you need a 610, 620 credit score. I think the FHA is the same to get the best rates. A lot of times that 3.5%, though, it is you can get a waiver for that. But even so, in my circumstance, when I was homeless in 2014, there was lots of debts that I had to pay off in order to repair and rebuild my credit so that we could get a house. So even though I didn't have to pay a big down payment for our house, I did have to pay off a lot of debt in order to qualify with our debt to income, as well as improving my credit score. In that regard, I think it probably evened itself out. That's also another key factor, is not to, certainly do not get a lifestyle increase based off of debt. That to me is the worst possible thing that you can do. Like getting a boat, getting all these different crazy assets, or not getting all these crazy liabilities with credit cards and stuff like that, is the craziest thing that people can do. But I do feel like there's a narrative that housing is not for the millennials. And I don't know, I worked very hard. A lot of what I was doing in 2016, 2017 was so that we could pay off everything that we needed to pay off, be debt free, so that we could buy the house that we wanted. And even that house, it's the house that I'm standing in right now that we're going to be selling soon. It was still well below our means, and it was still a very modest house that needed a lot of sweat equity and elbow grease. In closing, I don't think I did anything extraordinary. I think I just do not give one crap about the Joneses or impressing people that I don't care about, spending money that I don't have. Never really sat right with me. For me, all I really did was prioritize what was important to me and eliminate anything that did not contribute to that, and added as much as I could along the way. What I did may or may not work for you in your situation, but this is just my story and how I was able to do what I did. God first, God bless.